Mr. North and South American, all the ships at sea, let's go to
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. Howdy, howdy, howdy. We're back and better than ever. This is the 26th episode of the Bitchspot Report so far. I'm your host, Cephas, and with me always is Mike.
Hello, everyone.
Together, we're going to take a journey through the absurdity that is religion and the oddity that is liberalism together, and we can all shake our heads at how ridiculous it all is. So let's get started. So how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Pretty good. I'm actually ahead of the game on my other podcast. I haven't had to turn on my computer until today to do this podcast, which is not a bad thing.
My computer never goes off. It is running 24/7, 365.
Well, that's the ones at home. Those run all the time.
Yeah.
So, but
laptops and tablets and stuff, those get turned off occasionally, but
yeah,
not that often, really.
Yeah, that's same here.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, I understand there was something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we've talked about the PZ Meyer brew up with Michael Shermer, and apparently there's a defense fund set up for him, or it's been set up by Emery of the Ardent Atheist and Skeptical Ears podcasts, and seems like an interesting idea to donate to, apparently, Michael Shermer has filed against, PZ Meyer on,
There was a defamation lawsuit.
Yeah, there's two things they wanted defamation and I guess I think he wants an apology too, or at least a retraction.
Yeah, you can't legislate an apology,
right,
but you can make him retract.
Right. So,
well, that would really make this not, a defense fund because he's not the defending party. PZ's the defending party. It would be just a lawyer fund to pay for his legal costs.
Right. There's a fund being set up to help Shermer with his case. I'm planning on donating to it, but if you're interested in it, we'll have a link on the website to it. Seems kind of an interesting, at least ways speak out against guys like PZ Meyer who wants to drag normal, decent people through the mud.
Yeah, I think it's funny that ever since this thing came out, there are tons of people who are even ardent PZ supporters who are now saying enough is enough and the guy's a sleazeball.
Right. This whole brew up, and we've gone through it before, and it's just somebody sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, and then he stuck his nose in the wrong place, and now he's getting slapped for it, and I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
All right, well, anybody who wants to donate, there is a link at our website. Certainly go ahead and do that. And anybody who wants to just tell Michael Shermer that that you support him, that's probably just as good. He needs all the support he can get right now. And anybody who wants to tell PZ that he's a dick, well, he won't listen anyway, so don't bother.
Right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into the news. And now the news.
Groups planning a million Muslim march set to take place on the anniversary of 9/11, the terror attacks that day. The reason why? Because they say they were the real victims of that attack.
We are standing this day to show American that we Muslim, we denounce terrorism and we want to stand with the solidarity denouncing that heroic effect and event. The day of 9/11, we Muslim become villainized and victimized. And it's not us and them, it's we as American.
Back in January, conservative media outlets were shocked when an American Muslim group, American Muslims Political Action Committee, announced that they were planning on holding a million Muslim march on Washington, D.C. on the 12th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. The group, run by fringe conspiracy nut M.D. Rabbi Alam, who is a professed 9/11 truther and teaches that 9/11 was a Jewish plot.
Yeah.
Why do we not take this group seriously? They deny that this has anything to do with pushing a Muslim or conspiracy agenda, but pretty much nobody takes them seriously. And their Facebook page, before it was taken down, showed only 10 people had even committed to attend the Million Muslim March. How serious are we going to take this?
You know what? In this country where pretty much every redneck wants to blame the Muslims for this, and of course you do got the wackaloons who think our government was responsible for this. I'm kind of on the fence on this. It could go one way, and they might get. Of course, they're definitely not going to get 1 million to March, but they might get a few, or people just ignore it and in the belief that it'll go away.
Yeah, well, the thing is nobody's actually supporting this. Even like the Council on American Islamic Relations is completely ignoring it and saying, nope, we have nothing to do with this. We do not support it in any way, shape, or form. The group even renamed the event to a Million American March Against Fear, and when they didn't get any kind of response from that, they changed it back. So, this is going wrong right from the get-go.
Yeah. Now, other than a few nutters, I would wonder if my buddy Alex Jones and those types will be covering it, but there's probably nothing there to cover, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, this it reminds me like of the Million Moms group that turned out to be like 6 people in an email spam machine.
Yeah.
So have you heard of this guy, MD Rabbi Alam?
No.
He might be somebody for you to look into because he's a serious conspiracy crazy.
I'm gonna have to. I want to say, yeah, it hasn't popped up on my radar, but until right now, so I'm gonna say that's a guy I'm gonna have to take a look at.
Yeah, I don't get the conspiracy people at all, and I don't get people who follow them, and I don't get people who make these wild claims about how many people they're going to get out in the streets, because they never do. I mean, even way back when Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all that were going, the Million Black Men March on Washington, and not nearly that showed up.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard numbers like 100,000 tops, maybe estimated.
If that.
Yeah. So,
they're using this million number because, it sounds impressive, but they can never do that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has ever gotten to that point. I'm trying to think if there was any others, but of course I've never heard of them. Yeah,
no, there are. Tony Villaraigosa, when he was mayor of LA, he ran around and going, we're going to plant 1 million trees, and we're going to fill 1 million potholes, and we're going to do all this stuff. And he didn't do a goddamn thing. But it's good for marketing purposes, but that's all it is. It's just a marketing ploy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And this Rabbi Elam, he's probably just trying to get people to listen to his crazy worldview. I mean, that's usually what these conspiracy guys, I think they stage a lot of stuff to attract attention. I mean, Alex Jones, earlier this year in his blow up on Piers Morgan. I mean, when I watched it, I just saw a guy just kind of melt down. I mean, it was just a joke, but he'd gotten so much traction from that kind of stuff. So stuff like this, he's probably trying to, maybe he has a book out and he's trying to sell whatever the deal is. Usually that's what it is. They're trying to sell a book or a movie or something like that. So yeah, let's raise a ruckus, let's march on Washington with 1 million Muslims against, the tyranny or whatever. If you're blaming the Jews, that's like an automatic, that's an instant buzzkill to a conspiracy. There are definitely those guys who believe that Israel is responsible for a lot of the problems. They believe Israel was involved with the 9/11 attack. And I think it goes back to even the Holocaust denial type stuff. It's anytime you start doing that, you really kind of you kill your movement is what happens. And that's what I think a lot of the like the Alex Joneses, they skirt any type of mentioning of Jews. I mean, they use international banker as opposed to saying Jew. If you're listening to Alex Jones and he starts talking about international bankers, he's talking Jews.
Oh, sure he is.
So,
yeah, I mean, these people are crazies. And the thing is that even the biggest, Muslim political groups out there are saying that these guys are crazies. If you can't even get the people on your side to support you, How far out there are you?
Probably a little bit too far. Like I said, I mean, to me, these guys are just, it's so comical how they do it. I mean, they're a bunch of clowns. How they come up with this stuff. I mean, I wish I was that, I wish I was that, creative, actually. I mean, to come up with some of the crazy stuff they come up with. And, and we're seeing here that even, I mean, I'm not going to call all Muslims crazy, but, there's that stereotype that they're crazy. And they're saying that, they're saying this guy's crazy. It's like, that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I predict that about 100 people will show up to watch this idiot stand on his soapbox in the middle of the square, and then he will pretend that 1 million people showed up, and everybody will laugh at him, and it will just all be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because that's always what happens.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this guy's clearly just looking for attention. He ran for political office in Montana or something like that and lost miserably. And ever since, he's just been jumping up and down, waving his arms, going, look at me, look at me, look at me. This is just more of that crap.
Yeah. Oh, running in Montana. Those, I don't want to pick on folks in Montana, but.
Well, and I don't remember if it was Montana. I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to look it up, but I know he ran for state representative in some Midwestern state. And, he lost. So, sorry to people in Montana if I'm wrong. I don't mean it.
Okay.
I love you.
I mean, yeah, there's cool people up there, so I that's why I'm trying to I wanted to be careful with, I mean, but definitely there is there's a fringe group there too, so,
Oh yeah, but I mean, I don't blame them, whichever state it was, I don't blame them for this moron because they voted him down. So congratulations to whatever state that was. You did it good.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, let's go ahead and jump out and do your story.
Okay, reformers want Congress to end ban on pulpit politicking. A commission of religious leaders have called for clarity in churches' ability to endorse candidates and issues from the pulpit without fear of losing their tax-exempt status. In a report sent Wednesday, August 14th, to Senator Charles Grassley, an Ohio Republican who has spent years investigating finances of high-profile televangelists, the commission called the regulation of speech of religious organization disturbing and chilling. The IRS guidelines are very vague, so ministers and nonprofit leaders are afraid of the appropriate line, said Michael Batts, the independent commission's chairman. We think it can be fixed without creating a monster of unintended consequences. The Commission on Accountability and Policy for Religious Organizations grew out of Grassley's probe of ministry finances, makes the recommendation for greater transparency and reform. It is overseen by the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, which was founded in 1979 as a watchdog on ethical and financial wrongdoing. In the Wednesday report, the Commission recommended that members of the clergy should be able to say whatever they believe is appropriate from the pulpit without fear of IRS reprisals. Since 1954, IRS regulations allowed clergy to speak out on issues, but they must refrain from endorsing specific candidates. I'm kind of wondering what they're trying to go for here, but, I mean, it sounds like they want to, be able to endorse candidates and stuff like that.
They want to be able to do anything they damn well please and not have to pay taxes.
Yes.
Fuck them.
Yeah, I think the sad thing, and what I'm gathering from this, is that even when they do that, they're not getting hit.
Well, the problem is they can't. The honest reality is churches can't lose their nonprofit status because of the way the IRS is structured. Now, at one point in time, and you kind of mentioned this, the IRS and the government was kind of afraid that churches would be attacked by a range of IRS employees that were just kind of mad dogs out there doing what they wanted to do. So they created a single job position that oversaw all these claims. And then they eliminated that job position. And they didn't change the rules that made it impossible for anybody else to actually do the job. So now in the IRS rules, and I don't remember what the job is called right now, I'd have to go look it up. But, the rules say that anybody who is going to have their tax exempt status stripped can only go through this office, which doesn't exist. So all these religious groups have been just going crazy over the years. There's the groups out there who specifically just go out and violate their tax exempt agreement blatantly and say, come after us, because they know nobody can.
Yeah.
you know.
Whoever came up with that one, they should lose their pensions over this one. And,
Oh, yeah.
And in the context of free speech, yeah, I mean, you could probably do that, but you can't use your church as a captive audience and say, hey, you need to vote for this person because he's pro-God or, that type of thing. Thinking about it, and I'm thinking about it more, kind of in this weird area. I mean, we allow corporations to fund candidates.
Corporations are not nonprofit, are they?
Right.
If you want to make political statements, political contributions, etc., pay your fucking entry fee. That's taxes. You don't want to pay your entry fee? Go to hell. That's the way it works.
Right. But I'm just thinking, if the corporations are allowed this ability to support candidates, endorse, unions are always endorsing candidates, usually it's Democrats and those who they believe that's going to further their causes. Newspapers do that.
And they all pay taxes.
Right. Here we got an organization that should have a voice. I'm thinking should have a voice like that.
No, they shouldn't have a voice.
Well, they should have a voice if they, but since they don't pay taxes, you can't. That's what I'm trying to get at. Are we going to need to look at something to either start taxing them, which they don't want to do, but we have, it has to be one way or the other. If you're going to speak out, you're going to lose your tax exemption. You want to keep that tax exemption, you keep quiet. And that's what has to happen, and we need to get this kind of straightened out.
Oh, exactly. The fact is, they're claiming that this is discriminatory, but it's not. We apply this rule equally to everybody. Even like the Atheist Experience or the Atheist Community of Austin, they have to play by the same rules. They can't go around saying vote for this candidate. They can't. They're not allowed to do any of the same stuff that the churches are. And I think it's a little bit ridiculous to go, oh, well, you're discriminating against religion. No, we're not. You knew the rules. You wanted them. You got your choice. You don't like it? Fuck off.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just being blocked by some Congress critter who he doesn't want to fund that particular department. Who knows? I don't know what's going on there, really.
No, the whole thing is you got a bunch of religious people who want to have their cake and eat it too. And, the whole reason that we do this is because, A, you wanted to keep the state from sticking its nose into religion, but you also want to keep religion from sticking its nose into the state. That's what the founding fathers wanted, and that's what the whole tax-exempt status was based on. Now these people want to say, well, hell, I want to be able to do everything everybody else can do, but I don't actually want to pay for that right. I don't want to pay the piper to get that right to do things. I want to be able to do it and still keep all my money. Well, fuck you people.
No, exactly. That's bullshit,
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, a church should lose its tax-exempt status after 3 strikes. First strike, you get a warning, so maybe you didn't understand what you were doing wrong. Second strike, you lose it for a year. Third strike, you lose it forever and can never get it back. You are now paying taxes on every damn penny that goes into your church that isn't going directly towards charitable operations. And I personally think we ought to do that anyway and just say, hey, the only thing that we're not going to tax are actual charitable contributions. Things that actually demonstrably go to a charitable organization or to a charitable act and not for the upkeep of your stupid church and the payment of your stupid pastors and all the rest of that crap.
Right.
That should all go away anyway.
Right.
And then you can talk about anything you damn well please.
Yeah. See, I was kind of surprised. And actually, there was actually he was a Catholic priest in, I don't know if I talked about him, but, in, 1930, when did he start? 38, 39, probably up to December 7th, 1941. His father, Charles Coughlin, had a church in Royal Oak, Michigan. And he actually had a radio program and, he was very political. He supported a third-party candidate, was it Lemke? I'm trying to remember if it was Lemke or La Follette from Wisconsin. On his radio program, it was always Germany coming up, was rising, returning to its power, and it was gaining power. And really there was a lot of, especially with him, was a lot of support for Germany and the the rise of Nazism. And, of course, the Catholics were no fans of Jews, so what was happening to them at that time was, that was okay, but he was he was supporting these candidates. I know there was the president. I don't know if he did any for any of the Michigan, candidates, or if he hated Roosevelt, which actually that's what got him into trouble in Roosevelt. And they kind of a two-pronged campaign, one through the FCC to get him off the air, and number two through the, which one it was. I don't know if there was an IRS at that time or whatever they were looking into the taxes for that particular church. And eventually they got him pulled. And even the church was trying to shut him down too. So he wasn't really representing the church other than he had his collar, he was Father Coughlin. So, and he was very anti-Roosevelt, which was probably not a good thing for people to be, especially being that vocal and supporting other candidates. I don't know if that church ever lost its, I don't even think they lost any, tax exempt. But this was a guy just about as big as like, Pat Robertson or, the Jim Baker. He had a amusement park and the whole works. This was a Catholic priest. I got a lot of his, newsletters, and there's just stuff in there about, anti-Roosevelt, pro-German, anti-communist. I want to say maybe like an earlier form of a conspiracy theorist, because he was opposed to the Federal Reserve and all this kind of stuff, and threw a lot of biblical references, a lot of it's not really the Revelations, but in other parts about money and lending money and so on.
Yeah.
Eventually the FCC started pulling station licenses for carrying his show, and eventually everyone's kind of shut down on him. So it wasn't really the IRS going after him. It was the FCC did most of the dirty work for Roosevelt on that one. But yeah, it's been going on for a long time. That's probably one of the more classic, I wonder how these guys get away with having, these massive, TV, radio, how they get away with not paying taxes on that.
Because we're stupid. I don't know if there's anything else on that one.
But I don't think there's anything else on that one.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and just move on.
At East London Christian Church, they aim to heal bodies as well as souls. For Pentecostal churches, a belief in the healing power of prayer is central to their faith. The pastor here tells the sick to go on taking their medicine, but others give different advice.
After a little while, I did stop taking my medicine.
Oliver, not his real name, was given a plastic bottle of water by a Pentecostal pastor and told it would heal him. Oliver, who's 16 and HIV positive, later stopped taking his medicine, and his condition seriously deteriorated. He says others are coming under the same pressure.
I've been to other churches where you would see the pastor stands forth there and he says, come, take this water. If you drink it for this certain amount of days, you're going to be healed.
Doctors say they're increasingly aware of HIV patients coming under pressure from pastors to give up their medication.
It is very concerning, and it is very wrong for these people to do this, because it ultimately leads to these patients' death.
Pentecostalism is booming. Since 2005, the number of Pentecostal churches in London has doubled. Many of them serve African migrants.
Coming from a culture where pastors are like your fathers or mothers, they are like your community key person. I think the word of your pastor becomes very important.
Pentecostal services, emotional, expressive and charismatic, demand total commitment from their congregations. As the pastor calls down the power of the Holy Spirit to heal, he wields enormous authority over his followers. And there's little to control how that influence is used. Only a minority of Britain's many independent Pentecostal churches tell people to stop their medicine, but doctors warn that the wrong advice from even a few could do far-reaching harm.
In England, they're having a problem. It seems like a lot of Pentecostal ministers are telling their congregants with HIV to stop taking their medications and rely on the power of prayer to heal them. A study by the Children's HIV Association says that of those they surveyed, at least 29 HIV patients have been strongly encouraged to stop taking their medications, and at least 11 have done so. They also found that breastfeeding HIV-positive mothers were told to stop taking their medication that would prevent the virus from being transmitted to their HIV-negative babies. In another case, a 16-year-old HIV-positive boy was told to swap his medication for a bottle of pure water, which the pastor said would heal him. Is this just more faith-healing nonsense that's just never going to go away? And the answer is yes.
Yes, yeah, that's the simple answer. Yes.
It's like, didn't we just do this last week?
I think we've done this almost every week. Yeah, the couple who killed their kid twice, or killed two of their kids, over faith healing. I think we did them twice. I mean, doesn't anyone read the news or follow what's going on here? And, people are dying because of, start doing things like, this faith healing stuff. I mean,
these people don't care.
Apparently not.
They don't give a damn if people die, because if people die, it's because their faith wasn't strong enough or they didn't pray hard enough. It's not because these people are idiots.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way.
My question is, why aren't they being prosecuted for practicing medicine without a license?
Because apparently maybe they're not practicing medicine. They're not making, well, actually they are. Or in the United States they would be. This is in Britain, so I wonder. Apparently, homeopathy is, I don't know if it's still being, considered I don't know what the rules are. I mean, here in the United States, what this pastor did would be prosecutable. I know that for a fact, because if you're making claims that this water will heal, yeah, you're violating FDA rules and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it's like over there in England.
Yeah, I mean, you still do have Prince Charles, who's a homeopathist, dumbass.
Right. And, and there's a strong anti-vax and all that kind of stuff. So I'm asking too much from these people, I think.
I don't think so. We're not asking enough from these people. That's the problem, is we're just letting religions run rampant over everybody. We're not holding anybody accountable for the bullshit that they say. And I'm sure all these religious fucktards are just running around whining, going, religious discrimination, you're being mean to us, No, you're fucking killing people, you idiots.
Yep.
Is there any question that this kind of religious nonsense is hurting people? You're probably getting babies to catch AIDS. This is the same kind of crap the Catholic Church pulled in Africa when it was telling people not to use condoms.
Yep. Not to use condoms. They told them not to get the polio vaccine. Or was that someone else? But it was, or the Muslims told them not to take the polio vaccine because for whatever reason I think it was something they had to do with, they were trying to they believe that the West is trying to sterilize the Muslims using that vaccine. It's like, so now you got a polio epidemic going on in Africa, and
they'll probably blame that on us too.
And then, we're gonna get, well, yeah, I mean, I know that, going back to Alex Jones, he's claiming that, what the vaccines that was sent there was a live virus, not a attenuated virus. And, whatever, and then some mumbo jumbo happens, and, all these people came down with, super polio or whatever he was ranting about. At that point he had pretty much stopped making sense from it.
Yeah, but are those the people who took the vaccine or the people who didn't take the vaccine? Because it's very hard to give somebody super polio with a polio vaccine if they don't take it.
Well,
dumbass.
It's just that general medical, this anti-medical, big pharma. Everyone's attacking big pharma, because there was like a screw up in Poland. Some doctors, I guess they were needing money, so they started pulling homeless off the street and doing test vaccines on these guys. And, some people died. And it turned out it was kind of a part of a scam to, scam the pharmaceutical company because they were paying these, they're paying these doctors like $100 for every person they injected. So, oh yeah, we'll just grab a bunch of homeless people. Let's shoot them up. If they die, oh well, they were homeless anyhow. And taking that, with that attitude, they pocket the money. They found out ethics was totally out of the picture at that point. The nutters blamed it on Big Pharma trying to kill off people or whatever. The Mike Adams, likes to, oh yeah, you don't want to take vaccines. You don't want, you don't want fluoride. You don't want you don't want to be doing all this. Just eat these vegetables, drink this, specially filtered water, and you'll be 100 times healthier. It's like,
all of which we sell at our gift shop.
Yeah. Yeah, just go right to just go to our affiliate link.
Yep. Why? Because we make money off of it.
Yeah. I can, but I can't understand why people do this. Medical science, in cases it hasn't been perfect, but you know what? It's the best we've got. It works. It's cost effective. It's cheaper to take a vaccine versus spending a couple weeks with the flu.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that vaccines and medicine have that outperform, and that's prayer.
Yes.
Prayer never works.
Prayers never worked, yeah.
Nothing fails like prayer. I could see if these guys were actually touting something that demonstrably worked, that had a track record, that you could point to and say, see, this actually works better than medicine. But no, they have to pick the thing that produces no demonstrable results, and in fact fails more often than not, and never performs outside of the realm of statistical chance.
Right.
And then they sit around and go, well, you shouldn't take drugs because, we're going to go talk to our imaginary friend in the sky. Well,
right.
Fuck you. Jesus, you people are stupid. And they're proud to be stupid. That's the horrible thing. All these idiots in England, they're proud to be telling people to go out and die.
Yeah, it's a shame that I would like to think at least at some point in their lives they were pretty intelligent and understood things, but, being caught up in their religion and having their leaders saying, well, you can't take, vaccines, you can't have fluoride, you can't have these surgeries, or you can't have these procedures, was it Jehovah's Witnesses? They're against blood transfusions.
Right.
The stuff like that, stuff that saves lives. It's known to save lives. And even for some people, organ donation. I'm a big fan of organ donation. I lost my father because he needed a heart transplant. It would have been, I hope there wasn't some religious nutter out there who said, well, no, you can't carve my loved one up for organs. My dad did a lot of good things in the community. That's one of the reasons why I pretty much reject God or eventually, because, here's a good person. The person has done good in the world and he's gone. All he needed was a heart. And hopefully, again, it was not some religious nut who wouldn't want to give up but that does happen. There's people who need organs. And then there's these idiots who believe that, they don't want to donate organs or won't allow organs being donated. So
people have a right to do whatever they want to do with their own body even after they're dead.
Right. But
as far as I'm concerned, when I'm dead, I'm not using it. Take whatever you want. I couldn't care less. I'm not here anymore.
Right. For me, it's a big deal. I would love to see everybody. If you really absolutely don't want to be cut up or whatever, I'm fine with that. But you know what? At least think about it. Donate something if you can, but you don't have to donate the whole body. And maybe you can't, maybe, if you were like my dad, with a heart condition, when he passed away, there was the heart wouldn't work for anybody, but you know what? A lot of times it is religious based. They don't want to cut the body up because, it's against the religion. That's just selfishness.
It's childish, but that's what religion is.
Right.
I was thinking in this story, they ought to go around to all these asshole Pentecostal ministers and shoot them all up with HIV and see how fast they go running for the drugs. Or are they just going to sit there and pray?
The scary thing is they probably will just sit there and pray.
Fine, then they die. Yeah. And we solve the problem one way or the other. We either show that they're hypocrites or they all drop dead. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Works for me.
We're in a win-win situation.
Yep. All right, well, let's go ahead and finish up our news segment.
You can't turn gay kids straight. That's the message behind Governor Chris Christie's ban on gay conversion therapy. Hey everyone, it's Alyssa Caverly for Team Newsbreaker. ABC News reports the governor signed the bill Monday, which bans licensed therapists from trying to change teens' sexual orientation. In a note that accompanied his signing of the bill, the governor said he believes people are born gay and that homosexuality is not a sin, a view that breaks from his Catholic faith. He also said the health risks of trying to change a child's sexual orientation outweigh concerns over government interfering with parents' rights. Some fast facts now. AP notes New Jersey is now the second state to ban so-called conversion therapy. The first was California.
This is from Lifestyle on KVUE, New Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, because conversion therapy. New York governor signs ban on gay conversion therapy. And this is from Trenton, New Jersey. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has signed a law barring licensed therapists from trying to turn gay teenagers straight. All I gotta say is, hurrah.
I love Chris Christie. I do. I would vote for that dude for president in a second.
Definitely. I mean, this is excellent. Yeah, 2 thumbs up to this guy because you hear the stories about these gay conversions that they're horrible. I mean, they do more damage than good. And there's like this Christian mentality that homosexuality doesn't exist. You know, it's just a manifestation. You know, it's a brain. Well, I won't say that. But you decide to be gay. You don't, there's nothing mechanical that makes you gay. You're either gay or you're not. You make that decision and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And, you're taking these kids, teenagers who are, they're already kind of, I remember teenage years. We were all pretty, we're pretty messed up in our heads anyhow. And then you throw this, a crazy, Christian therapist who's trying to scare the gay out of you, and it's basically does more damage than good.
Well, yeah.
And I'm glad.
It doesn't work. That's the thing, is it doesn't do anything. And even Christian groups that have been engaged in this are saying it doesn't work, and they're apologizing to the people that they've hurt. Exodus International is saying, holy crap, we've been completely wrong, and we're sorry to all the gay people that we've hurt over the years.
Exactly. It's pretty clear even to the ones who used to believe that they can do the conversions. Now, something good coming out of religious groups. I know what our stated objections to religion, but here's a group that's saying, yeah, we were wrong. And apparently, I guess Christians can say, hey, we're wrong.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a good thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot, this kind of stuff happens all the time. The only place that I kind of had a problem with Christie was he says at some point that, he was talking about, homosexuality is a sin and all this stuff. I don't give a crap about homosexuality being a sin or not, because the government's not in any place talking about what's a sin and what's not a sin. Sin is a religious term. The government is by its very nature secular. So it doesn't make a fucking difference if it's a sin or not, because there's no goddamn such thing as sin. And people need to stop playing the stupid little religious game. We're going, oh, well, we're going to respect your religious beliefs. I wouldn't. Granted, I would never make it in office because, I don't pull bunches and I don't play games, but I would never, if I was governor of, New Jersey, I would never say, hey, I'm going to sweet talk you and kiss your ass regarding your religion. I'm going to call it like it is. I'm going to tell you your religion is full of shit, and the government is secular, and the government doesn't give a crap about your religion. And if you want to go believe something, knock yourself out. But don't expect your government to endorse it, to believe it, or to have anything to say whatsoever about it. That's not what the government's for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And
anyway, what I was kind of going to say was, I don't get where these religious, and I know the religious aren't rational, and they don't think, and the rest of that stuff. We already understand that. But I always wonder where these anti-gay crusaders get the whole idea that gay people pick being gay. When the hell did they ever pick being straight? They can never point to a time in their life where they just said, well, let's see. I think today I'm going to be attracted to girls. Yet they assume that's exactly what happens with gay people who just kind of go, well, I'm going to be attracted to boys.
I've never been able to, unless it's somehow through I don't know if it's through teaching. I mean, it sounds like a lot like a perpetuated stereotype. So it's probably something they pick up from their parents who picked up from their parents and stuff like that. To be honest, I can't figure out how religious people think. They don't seem to. They've got this convoluted, I mean, they've already got a convoluted worldview. And how do you even begin to decipher how they come up with some of the stuff that they claim,
the problem is they don't think. They have faith. They believe something without evidence, and anything that comes into conflict with that, what they believe, they completely reject out of hand. They don't care, I mean, it's like kids who believe in Santa Claus. You can argue with them up one side and down the other, show them all the evidence that there is no Santa Claus, but if they want to believe that there's Santa Claus, they're going to believe that there's Santa Claus, and they're going to ignore anything you say that proves otherwise. Theists are just children who never grew up.
Yeah, I guess that sounds right. I mean, it's just, like I said, I've never been able to figure out why they think that way. And, other than they've relied on that book and, I don't know, maybe through prayer or whatever they did, ask God, hey, am I straight? Give me a sign, type of thing, or what. I don't know.
Half of them probably aren't straight anyway. I mean, let's face it, every time we get like a Ted Haggard or somebody, one of those anti-gay crusaders, you end up finding him in bed with a guy.
Right.
Most of the people, the more they talk about it, the less sure they are. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many times you catch a guy in a bathroom, congressman. I mean, I'm no big fan of, Larry Flint, but he has outed so many of these guys who've been adulterers, homosexuals, and that. And these are congressmen who've been, anti, all this stuff. So, and they don't, I don't know. It's just mind numbing because it's just this constant stream of stupidity that comes out of these people's mouths. Cause I've been listening to, I got a small collection of biblical prophecy podcasts, and unfortunately, I think I found one where the guy's almost sensible, but he's like, until they start, comparing, what we're seeing today to a passage in the Bible, then it's like, okay, now you're just fitting pieces to, to meet your putting together, pieces to, prove your argument type of thing. It's, the cherry picking.
Yeah.
And,
but we see all kinds of religious people doing the same thing. The Muslims go, with all their cherry picking passages out of the Quran to prove that Muhammad knew about physics and all this other crap.
Right.
It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Stop reading your books that way. It's not. You're reading a book of Bronze Age mythology and pretending that it has any validity in the modern world. Stop being an idiot.
Exactly.
And I get into debates with these idiots all the time where you will get these people, anybody having a discussion about something normal and rational, and they can't prove their point. All they can do is throw Bible verses at you. And you explain to them that their Bible verses have no validity whatsoever, that you have no interest in their Bible verses, that their Bible verses will never convince you of anything because they're not valid. And these people just keep throwing the same verses at you, like throwing these words out of this old book is somehow going to prove reality. And it's just not.
Right.
I don't get these people.
Never have, never will.
And after the 10th time they do the same thing and nobody takes them seriously, why do they do it the 11th, 12th, and 13th time? Because that's all they've got.
Yeah. They can't think for themselves. They're imams, they're priests, they're pastors, they've all been ingrained with, this is this is the world, and, you don't need to look anywhere past that, and they don't.
It's just disturbing. It's sad.
Yeah. My worldview, being an atheist, I see the world as this wonderful, it's this magical, in a way it's kind of magical, but it's, chemical reactions, the stars, everything that goes on, which we can, we know, we're fairly confident that is the billions of years and how life has evolved on this planet and how, to me it is kind of magical how, the single cells group together to form multicell and then that progression and how, some species, they might look out and have the right number of fingers so they can climb certain, whatever, and all this stuff happening. And to me, that is much more, enlightening, more exciting, more, magical than being forced to believe that the world's, 6,000 years old and God created everything in one, with a snap finger over 6 days. I mean, to me, seems like a cop out that I don't want to understand that, how the world works. I'm happy with just this magical being, creating everything in 6 days or whatever number of days, whatever your religion tells you it is. To me, I mean, that seems almost, like an insult. It's an insult to life on this planet because our life it struggled, it fought, it dealt with, changing conditions, all the stuff that's gone on this planet since it coalesced from the dust of the universe, getting to this point. I mean, it's an amazing trip. And, again, I mean, these religious types who wants to hand that all that majesty to a pretend, make-believe God, it's just insulting.
Yeah, well, I mean, these people aren't that bright to begin with, and a lot of it is because they're afraid of reality. They're afraid of the way the world actually works. They're afraid that there isn't some imaginary friend in the sky watching over them and protecting them, when obviously it isn't, and whenever something bad goes on, whenever something wrong happens, they always have to find some kind of an excuse for why God wasn't watching over them,
Right.
Why gays cause tornadoes and all that kind of crap.
Right. When life is good, you credit God with that. When God, when something bad goes, you blame God. But
they don't blame God. They find a way to blame everything but God.
Well, it's God's will, and they want to, it's like, okay, then I didn't pray hard enough or whatever. It's like the damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, if I'm a good person, God rewards. If I'm a bad person, God punishes. So I gotta do good so God doesn't punish me anymore. It's like, that everything gets linked back to God. Not that they're a fuck up and, they spent too much at the gambling parlor or whatever, or what have you. It's like, it's always, the ability to blame or give credit to something and, not take responsibility or take the credit. I mean, when you do something right in your life is good. That's what you did. You did that. You did the work to get to that point. It's not something that God handed out like a treat. It's this, you did yourself right. And, if you screw up and, you make a bad investment, you accidentally, you hit the gas instead of the brake pedal and hit a light post. Those are consequences. You don't blame God for mixing you, I mean, they won't blame God for screwing up with with the brakes or whatever.
Yeah, but the devil made you do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. We could talk about the stupidity of Christianity and other religions all day, and actually we do.
Yeah.
But we should probably move on.
Let's move on.
All right. And now,
you believe what?
No. Oh, no.
Ha ha ha, I bet you thought you were going to do the main event, didn't you? For those of us who regularly interact with theists, we get to claim that the Bible is the inerrant word of God a lot. Yet it's funny that these theists never seem to be able to prove it. Never mind the fact that they have no evidence for God and that the Bible is chock full of errors and contradictions. The sad part is that theists will make the lamest attempts to rationalize their way around the problems so they can just go back to claiming the ridiculous statement of inerrancy. Today we're going to look at 4 examples out of the many, many various problems in the Bible that Christians just can't answer. Now, we picked 4. We were going to do like the Noah story, but we've done a pretty significant deconstruction of that a while back. I don't remember exactly what episode it was. It was like 6 or 7. Actually, it was done in 2 different episodes. So anybody who's interested in seeing the whole Noah story get shredded, by all means, go back and look at that. We're going to just take some of these pretty quickly and just kind of do our takes on them about how ridiculous these stories really are. So, first, let's talk about Jonah and the whale. That's a good one, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. Actually, I get a kick. I Inherit the Wind. I mean, I like the Spencer Tracy movie, and when he's interrogating Matthew Brady, and he goes about Jonah and the whale, and Brady goes, well, the Bible says big fish, and Darrow goes, but the Bible says it's a great fish. I mean, I love that. For some reason, I love that little bit.
Yeah, I love that movie. Got it on DVD.
Yes.
That's a fantastic movie.
Yes. I mean, the story, I mean, it's, to me, it's interesting. I mean, I'm wondering I don't know exactly what would be the, significant lesson in this story, but,
well, it's basically do what God tells you to do or you're going to get screwed. That's the purpose behind the story. But the fact is the story is nothing more than a story. It's not real. It's ridiculous. The Bible describes it, depending on where you look in the Bible says it's either a fish or a whale or a sea serpent. Kind of depends on where you care to look. You can kind of go with whatever you want to go with. But the reality is, first off, the easy stuff. All right. A whale is not a fish. We know that. Then again, it also says that bats are birds. So, you can't take the Bible too seriously anyway, as far as it comes to taxonomy. It says Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Okay. What did he breathe? What did he eat? What did he drink? Because the only thing you're going to have is seawater, and that's going to drive him insane if he just is drinking seawater.
Gastric juices, the whole digestion process. I mean, he's probably, dealing with the muscle spasms and stuff like that. I mean, reality is you're inside an animal's, internals. I mean, what mechanics are going on in there? I mean, if it's like a bird, you got stones that are going to be trying to grind you up and things like that. So,
well, I mean, they don't really work that way, but,
But the idea is that you're in a digestive system that's trying to break you down into basic elements so the body can gain nutrients from,
Right.
It's like, how are you going to survive 3 days in that,
Yeah, you can't. I mean, if you look at it realistically, and that's what we have to do for all these stories, is we have to look at these stories realistically because they're claiming that these really happened. So if we're going to assume that this is a whale, you're done. Because any whale potentially large enough to swallow a man whole doesn't eat like that. They strain krill and other small creatures through their balleens. There isn't a whale alive that has a throat big enough to take a full-sized man. They're only maybe 2 or 3 inches across.
Right.
So you couldn't get through to the stomach to begin with. Third, whales like sperm whale and other similar whales, they've got a 4-chambered stomach just like a cow, which is because they came from cows. They are evolved from cow-like creatures. But they're full of digestive acid. They're going to eat you alive. You're going to be gone in 3 days.
Yep.
And these people don't bother to think about these things. When you point it out, they go, oh, it's a miracle. Well, fuck you and your miracles. Miracles aren't real.
Yeah, they ask us to treat this as literal. I mean, the young earth creationists, they take, when they do the creation, we're taking it literally. They've done all this math or whatever, but then when you get these stories like with Jonah, well, now you have to take some faith, or they invoke the God of the gaps, all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, but you gotta take this on faith, and you gotta take that on faith, and well, that's a metaphor, or that's a simile, that's, whatever. And it's like, well, no, wait. Either you take the book literally or you don't. One or the other. you can't just mix and match, and they want you to take the part literally, but then you got to say, well, you don't have to take, you don't. No. One way or the other, please.
Yeah. If you want to claim that this book is inerrant, it's inerrant in everything. Every single thing in the book has to back to what happened. If it didn't, it's not inerrant. You can't just pick and choose parts and then declare the whole thing to be one way or the other. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And you get these really ridiculous stories like Jonah and the whale, like Noah's Ark, like the resurrection of Jesus, all these things that are just absurd on their face, and then they just kind of like stick their fingers in there and go, la, 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 we can't hear you, because they can't handle the possibility that maybe their beliefs are wrong.
Right.
But anyway, since you brought up the whole creation thing, let's go there next. The creation story, there are two clear, separate creation stories. The first in Genesis 1:1 to 2:6, and the second one in Genesis 2:7 and thereafter. And theists like to claim that these are the same story, but clearly they're not. And there's no way that you can logically say that they tell the same story. The first story says that humans were made after animals. Go look at Genesis 1:25 to 27. Second story says humans were made before animals. Take a look at Genesis 2:18 to 19. Jesus agreed with the first story in Mark 10:6, but you cannot say that men were created before and after animals and just say that that's the same story. It doesn't work that way. These people are idiots.
Yeah.
First one says men and women were created at the same time. Genesis 1:27. Second one says that women were created from man's rib. Genesis 2:18 to 22, if I remember right. All right. So which is it? Were they created at the same time, or was man there first, and would God create woman to, help man? Make a choice, pick a story, but you can't say that both of them happened because they're mutually contradictory.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just trying to think, cause, like in the, in the conspiracy world, the ancient aliens, and when they look at these passages, and, if I remember the passage, the way it goes right is, God created man in his images and his likenesses.
Yeah, there are places where it says, let us make man in our...
Yeah. And, that's my connection to all, when I've studied this. And, of course, the ancient aliens, like the ancient alien conspiracists, like to think that this is evidence that it wasn't one God, there's multiple entities. And, of course, the entities are space aliens that have influence, and they through a cloning, they created men and women. And actually that's when one of my first real early, clues that there's some issues here with the Bible. Because, okay, well, why does the Bible say, likenesses and stuff like that, where everything's plural, not singular? God's supposed to be one. It's not supposed to be. And eventually heard arguments. Well, again, it's that, it's the metaphor that God is everything and everything, type of thing. So.
Well, the real reason why things are like that in the Bible, and it only appears in the second biblical creation story, is because the ancient Hebrews were polytheistic. It wasn't until later on that they came up with a monotheistic God. So at the time that the first creation story was written, there were multiple gods. They had multiple gods. That's why they referred to multiple gods. And some of that has been edited out, and some of that has just remained, and they've kind of explained it away. But, the whole idea that this crap is going on is just ridiculous. It's a bunch of theists who refuse to accept the reality.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start, was it on, again, History Channel, they do the books left out of the Bible, and they were they talked about, I think one of the Hebrew, texts about, that there was, Lilith. It was the first woman before Eve somehow, but then she did something, had to be banished, and she was turned into a demon, and she may have been the one to coerce Eve to have Adam eat the apple, apple of knowledge and stuff like that. So there's all these I mean, it seems to be like hundreds of these creations, and then we're just talking within the Hebrew, the Judeo-Christian, a lot of these different stories, and then, when you start getting into the, even afterwards when they're trying to resolve some of the problems, like, after Adam and Eve gets banished from paradise, they start begetting children and trying to account for, well, how does Cain and Abel, who do they beget with? And, technically the only woman around is, Eve. So, how do they, so they had to figure out a way to, resolve that issue.
Yeah, but they don't really care. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, apparently they didn't, because it didn't make it into the real Bible, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to even remember, if you go back to the Bible, God created the stars in Genesis 1:16, and immediately they give light to earth. Well, okay. The closest star, other than the sun, is Alpha Centauri, but that's 4.3 light years away, which means it would have taken 4.3 years for its light to reach the earth. This is held by young earth creationists, that any star farther than like 10,000 light years away, we shouldn't be able to see.
Yep.
But the most distant stars we see, if you look through Hubble's extreme deep field studies, it's like 13.2 billion light years away. How do you explain that? They don't.
Yeah. There's actually, Richard Hoagland seems to think that, this is, you'll like this. Apparently, the speed of light is variable, according to Richard Hoagland. So, what we may be thinking is 13 billion years may not be that. This is a guy who believes that there's faces on Mars, and, there's this hyperdimensional physics. There's actually a good podcast, exposing pseudo-astronomy. He goes into all that kind of stuff. But,
yeah, but these people, they're just trying to rationalize why shit doesn't work the way that they think it should.
Right.
That's exactly what they're doing. Where they'll go, oh no, God created light in transit. Fuck you. That's bullshit. You're just trying to go, well, reality doesn't match what I believe. Therefore, I'm going to try to change reality instead of trying to change what you believe.
Right. That's what Hoagland's doing. He's trying to change the reality because his physics that he's trying to impress the world with, he can't do it. He's been arguing that all this stuff, and it's like, well, but you gotta change all the basic rules of physics to make your shit work, and that's what we're seeing here with the Bible. You're trying to change the laws of physics. You're trying, all these things to make it fit into your thing. I mean, our explanation is a lot more concise, clear, and, and provable. All they've got is, some guy, 2,000 plus years ago, what he scribbled down on a piece of paper,
or chiseled on a rock or whatever it was.
Whatever they did, it's like, I mean, it's just so funny that, you gotta change everything to get your side to work. Light works this way. Oh, no. But see, because the Earth's only 6,000 years old, light can't work that way. So we got, so they'll make up a weird physics to, account for it, and it doesn't work,
Yep. Change the facts, not the belief.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, and therefore we have to declare the Bible is not inerrant anyway.
Right.
So let's go ahead and hit the next one. And this is an easy one because, there are some that are just blatant. Eunuchs in the kingdom of God. Matthew 19:2 and Isaiah 56:3-5 say that eunuchs are welcome in the kingdom of God, but Deuteronomy 23:1 says they're not. Nobody can explain why these two passages exist in an inerrant Bible. Come on, Christians, put up. Let's see it.
Yeah. Because I'm confused. What's right? I mean, your book is saying one thing and then it says something completely different, so.
Yeah, then it says the complete opposite thing, and then you're saying, well, my Bible's all perfect. Okay. How do you justify that?
Yeah.
Let's see it. Put up or shut up. Yeah. But they can't. And mostly, Christians don't even bother to address this. They completely ignore it because they haven't found some way to twist the words around enough to make it kind of work out for them. It's either right or it's wrong, people. You can't have it both ways. Pick one.
Right.
And finally, let's do the Tower of Babel, which is always a fun one. Now, this kind of plays on some pretty blatant absurdities. It assumes that the ancient Babylonians could build a tower higher than anything we've constructed today and then forget how to do it and leave absolutely no archaeological evidence that they ever did it. Okay. Where's the remains of the Tower of Babel, people? Where is it? Come on, Christians. Where is it? Because we can find the archaeological remains of just about anything. We can find old buildings where all there is left are just ruins, or just the remnants of walls, or whatever. The Tower of Babel would have to be a pretty huge structure. It would have to weigh many, probably millions of tons of rock. This is going to leave impressions on the ground that will be detectable today. So where is it? I'm still waiting for an answer, people. Come on.
Yeah, I'm waiting for one too, because, I mean, the pyramids, I mean, these are pretty big. I mean, the construction of these things are so, I mean, it's actually pretty neat, and it's a shame that, again, these ancient alien guys seem to think it's spacemen and all that stuff, cutting the blocks and stuff like that, because some of the construction techniques, they figured out, where they can cheat and where they can't cheat, type of thing. And
to be perfectly honest, and that's a good point that you bring up, it seems like the conspiracy theorist, ancient aliens people, the Eric von Dänikens and those kind of people, they assume that ancient man was stupid and couldn't do anything on their own, therefore it required some form of alien intelligence or whatever. But if you turn around and look at this story, you're assuming, I guess, that humans are too smart for their own good, and it requires God to stomp their asses into the ground and stop them from being intelligent. Now, is that just a fundamental difference between conspiracy theorists and religion people? I don't know, but it's kind of an interesting thing to think about if you really think about it.
But you also see this, like in many cases, there's the step, or not the step pyramid, it's I forget which pyramid it is, but it's like they start going up and then they realize that it was starting to collapse, so they...
Yeah, the bent pyramid, yeah. The
bent pyramid, but then you have the step pyramids, which are, you're just bases built on, base on base on base type, and that's kind of typical to the, the Central American, the Maya, Incas, what they were building. But even there, I think some of the Mayans, they actually found a chunk of a mountain that they built their pyramids over the top of. To build something like that, I mean, the Egyptian pyramids was a pretty big, major operation. I mean, it sounds to me like the Egyptians almost had invented, accounting, their math was based a lot on accounting, so, because they were paying for supplies to build these pyramids. I mean, the Sumerians, the Babylonians had written language that we should be finding paper, paper on purchasing of stones, the hiring or, whoever they got to build, usually these structures, I mean, some were slaves, but a lot of times these were people who, as national pride type of thing, would get together, and would donate their time to build these structures. So a Tower of Babel, I mean, I would have to think I'm making some assumptions here, you're talking a couple miles tall. I mean, you'll be leveling mountains all over the place to get enough stone to even start. And then, the base would have to be almost in itself a mountain, carve down a mountain and then, build up from there. There would have to be something to,
I mean, I was thinking that the base would have to at least be as big as like the Great Pyramid. And shit like that doesn't just magically vanish. You would be able to go out there into the middle of Babylon or Sumeria or wherever the hell it was supposed to be and find that today.
Yes.
Where is it? I mean, we have to be realistic about this thing and understand that the ancient Hebrews thought the world was surrounded with a dome upon which the stars and other heavenly bodies were hung. I kind of went into this back when I was doing the Noah's Ark thing. And you have to remember that it's not unreasonable that early Hebrew storytellers might have thought that a tower to the heavens was possible because the heavens weren't that high above us. It wasn't going to be some massive structure that went out into outer space. it was going to be something that was maybe was the size of the pyramids. But still, you still don't have the evidence that those things actually
Right.
never existed. You still are stuck with it. It's just a story.
Right.
And we can look into like Sumerian mythology. We can find parallels that the Hebrews clearly took their story from.
Right.
So it's not that bad. You know, when you look back at the backgrounds on all of these different stories, you do find mythic parallels in other cultures.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's another one of those things where I don't understand how anybody with half a brain can look at these things and think for 1 second that it's remotely possible.
Right. About the only thing I can think of is that these early writings may have been maybe more like a textbook trying to teach people, lessons of, morality or what have you, that kind of, a teaching tool as more than something you're supposed to take total faith in, and of course, thousands of years, we don't really know what they used it a few thousand years ago, other than, it does seem like, at least at some point it became more of a religious document than any type of, actual history type thing or, a historical account or anything like that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there came a time when they started taking this crap actually seriously. The original stories, and we know this from looking at the mythologies of all the surrounding areas, that they were not meant to be taken seriously. All right? Zeus and Mount Olympus. There weren't an awful lot of Greeks who thought there was really gods up on the top of the mountain. It was an allegory. It was a story. It was a teaching tool. It was there to tell you about the world around you. People did not go climbing up to the top of the mountain going, no gods here. I wonder what's going on. Nobody really took it that seriously until much later when the culture had changed, when, the understanding of the people had changed, and they looked at this thing that they've been brought up to think is valuable, and they're going, well, God, this shit must have actually happened. But it didn't.
Right.
And that's really, that's where we're at right now, is that modern day Christians, they go, well, hey, we write history textbook. We write books about history. We're going to assume that the Bible is the same thing that we do today. But it's not. It's not what it was ever intended to be. And the same is true of the Quran. The same is true of all these other books. None of these books were written from that perspective. They were all written as teaching tools to tell people about the world. And, it's like Aesop's fables. Does anybody seriously think that there's foxes out there jumping up and down trying to get grapes? No. You're not that stupid. But that's the Bible too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But I guess that's why we're not Christians. Because
apparently not. I mean, some of the stories, they're pretty imaginative and stuff like that. I kind of dig how they, I know I've talked a lot about the ancient aliens and, people on this thing, but they all seem to think that, these books, they don't even stop at the Bible, they'll talk, Epic of Gilgamesh, there's that, Vimanika Satra, basically a fake it's actually a fake document, but they always like to refer to these texts as, blueprints for the alien visitors. And, it's like, where do you get this stuff?
They're doing the same thing that Christians are. They're doing the same thing that theists are. They're taking their beliefs first, and then they're only looking for evidence that supports their beliefs.
Exactly.
And they don't pull up the ancient texts that don't mention the things that they believe. Fine, right. That's not evidence against what they believe. Only the specific, things they cherry pick. That's evidence of things that they do believe. And right. It's just stupid.
Yeah. But it does give us a lot of stuff to think, to bitch about.
To laugh about.
Laugh about, bitch about, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I welcome a day where we no longer have anything to bitch about. Really.
Hopefully we just pushed it another day quicker.
Yeah, I hope so. I welcome the day when being an atheist is no longer necessary because being a theist is no longer acceptable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up for the week. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, there you have it, and aren't you glad? That's another show down, and we're going to start getting the next one ready. Don't forget to visit us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and of course our website at report.jdragononline.com. Thank you for spending some time with us, and we'll see you again next week. You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report Podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bitchspot Report. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are on our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.